Hello, everybody. I just wanted to hop on and kind of talk to you face to face. I know that it's been a while. I know that I've sent emails, I've sent text messages, but if you're like me, I'm tired of emails. I want to be able to communicate like this. And so I kind of wanted to talk about where we are, update you on the schedule, and just a brief lecture covering some of the theories and the directors that we have missed out on uh, by not having this time together. So that's what I'm going to do. I hope this isn't that long, but I wanted to be able to give you some face time. And firstly, I just want to apologize for how weird this semester has been so far. And for those of you that have suffered any challenges or struggling or currently struggling, um, I am sending you all the positive vibes. I know some of you have reached out. Continue to reach out, communicate with us faculty. As you remember, the last time we were together, I was preparing to move. And so while that move has happened, it has not been as simple as I thought it was going to be back when I started doing that move. And so make sure you're communicating if you are challenged, if you're having challenges, if you're struggling, if you need more flexibility on assignments, communicate, communicate, communicate. It is going to be about grace and communication this semester as we near the finish line. It is really close. And so that's where I want to start today is I want to talk a little bit about the schedule. And with this video, you should have received an updated schedule. First things first, there is an essay that is supposed to be due this week. Forget about it. Not a priority. Next week, there's supposed to be quiz two. Forget about it. Not a priority. We got some catching up to do, and we're also going to go ahead and change those assignments just a little bit to try and make them a little more user friendly for you. So when you look at that calendar, what you will see is the week nine, October 21st, next Monday. We will try and do a day of activities, those things that we've missed. Additionally, all of those voice threads, we're going to have a voice thread due this week. Of course, if you want to work on it, go ahead and get in there and work on it. But next Friday, all of those voice threads, 1 through 7, 8, 9, are due next Friday. If you need more time, of course, reach out. Week 10, we'll try to get back on track in class instead of doing that longer quiz. Some of you would say, Tyler, that's a test. We're going to do just a short quiz, and it's just going to be about the film screenings that you have screened since quiz one. And so it'll just be probably the last 10 or 15 minutes of that class. We'll take some time to do that brief quiz. But Tyler, what about all those other points for the quiz that usually would be there and for that big essay? That's a great question. What we're going to do is it's going to be an at-home assessment, and it is going to be open book, open notes, whatever you need. It'll be in D2L, and you'll have until Sunday, November 3rd to complete that at-home assessment. In there, you're going to be doing some open-ended questions that would have been a part of the essay, along as well as some multiple choice questions similar to what you saw in quiz one. Week 11 will be back to normal, hopefully back on track. We're going to focus on acting. There'll be a voice thread due. Week 12 is Veterans Day, so we will not have class that week. Instead, that you will take that time to work on your final presentations. If you haven't already, go ahead and look ahead at that assignment. We'll talk about it in class. We'll try to make it as easy as possible to use the material you've already studied about your director to be able to talk about them in this final presentation. You are not presenting, you are only writing a paper or creating a video. We will not present those in class. When we get back from Veterans Day, week 13, there will be a presentation on remakes and sequels, and then we'll wrap up that class with the quiz three, which will be about those weeks in between when we do that second quiz, partial quiz, and that day. So it's going to be a shorter quiz. We'll talk about details as we get closer. Week 14 is Thanksgiving break. And then week 15 is when we'll watch our end of the semester film that we've been narrowing down via that Google form, which you'll have another one today to narrow it down another round. And that that ends the semester. Our final exam would typically be scheduled for Monday, December 9th, since we don't have an exam in this class, as you have all those other assignments. Everything that's outstanding or what may be, there's a voice thread reflection, and there's uh, the film screening brief, which I'll talk about that night. Those will be due on December 9th at midnight. So that is a whole lot. Like I said, if you have questions about that, feel free to reach out to me. You have my number, contact me. We're going to try and get through this the best that we can over these last couple weeks together. It's going to be great. Um, if you haven't had a chance to screen those films, uh, that activity won't be until later. So take some time to catch up on those films, whether that's adding to the real review on VoiceThread or for that activity that will be at home. I understand. Let me know if you need some flexibility. That's what I have for you when it comes to this. I am working on getting those grades updated. Midterm grades has been pushed back. So everything that you have, make sure you get it in, and I'll continue to grade along the way and get us caught up to where we are before that. I did want to spend some time today uh, talking about some of the lecture that we've missed, basically the theories and the directors, so that you don't miss out on them. Because I know the theories has been a tough point in those essays, and so we want to make sure that we are highlighting a couple more theories for you to understand. So when we're talking about visual design is where we should have been. Visual design is where we should have been in week 6. And you guys did a great job at reflecting on that in those different film clips. And we'll do some more activities when we get in class to talk about those genres in visual design. But you did a great job on the voice thread. I think you have a good grasp when it comes to setting and lighting and costume design. The theory for week 6 would have been structuralism. And some of you talked about structuralism in your paper, getting a little bit ahead of us. But structuralism is a theory that's concerned with analyzing the surface structure of a system in terms of its underlying structure. What does this mean? What we're looking at, and I introduced this idea in class of meaning making. So, what is the perception? What is the understanding? How does an audience read and understand the signs within the text, right? When we leave a film, what are we thinking about? What do we think the meaning was of the film? A couple of examples of signs and symbols that have one interpretation, because that is what the theory is focused on, is that when we go see a film, we all leave seeing and understanding the same thing. So we take a look at this car. What do we think of? If you said James Bond, you're on the right track. When we see these ruby slippers, what do we think of? If you said The Wizard of Oz, you are correct. How about this lightsaber? Lightsaber will be connected to Star Wars. And then we think of the Empire State Building. And most of us are going to think of King Kong. And so this theory is focused on that idea that there is one meaning making. And for that week, you were watching a Nora Ephron movie. Uh, Whatever movie you picked, whether it was Sleepless in Seattle or Julie and Julia, Nora Ephron is known for her rom-coms. And so why is she connected to this theory? Ephron, like I said, connected to the rom-com. When we talked about genres, we were talking about how the rom-com is typically focused on sharing one story and that love exists and love is out there. Across your 3 films, you probably saw this. Ephron is known for that witty dialogue and telling similar stories. And that's why we connected to the idea of structuralism, is that structuralism is this concept that there is one meaning, similar to the ruby slippers and the Aston Martin and lightsaber and the Empire State Building. There is one meaning, and so that's the reason we watched a rom-com for that week. On the opposite side of the spectrum, in week 7, we were talking about editing. And within editing, uh, the theory that we were going to talk about that week is post-structuralism. So similar to what we did with realism and formalism, structuralism was the idea that there is one meaning that we leave with. Post-structuralism looks at the opposite way. It is a critique on structuralism. It says that there's instability, that there's plurality to meaning, that there's multiple meanings that come from a film. And I think this is going to be more common in the films that we see today, is that you and I go and see a film, and it's not necessarily going to be like, you know what, I just went and saw dot 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 movie, and this is what it meant to me. I think that's going to be the true across multiple movies. And that's the reason that we watched Parasite for this week. If you haven't gotten to Parasite, we'll talk about it when we're together. Is that Parasite is a movie that's very complex and can be seen in multiple different lights. And so that is connected to post structuralism. And I hope that you can see between the Nora Ephron movies and Parasite, excuse me, that there is this difference in meaning making, and there is a little bit more complexity, and that's post structuralism. The director for the week is Bong Joon Ho, who is famous for providing that complexity across different story, and he uses it in a dark romanticism way, dark humor, right? He provides social commentary, and so while there is a general plot that we could watch and understand, he is providing some kind of social commentary through humor. He's also very character driven, making sure that you feel and connect with these characters no matter who they are. And if you've watched Parasite already, there's probably one of those characters that you have an understanding of and you connect with a little bit more in the challenges you've come across in life. We also talk about his use of symbolism, looking at others. And we haven't talked about Hitchcock yet, but this shot from Parasite is very similar to this shot from um, Psycho, which we watched part of Psycho, but not necessarily the shot from Psycho. And so he uses a lot of symbolism and metaphor, and using other artists to kind of tell a deeper story. And once again, going to that post structuralism, it's not just the top layer, that there's so much more below it that is being told. And the film that you watch this week are going to watch is Parasite. And as I talked about in the comments for that week, is that this movie is not an English show. It does have subtitles, but it may be one of the best movies that I have ever seen, telling a unique story that is easy to connect to, though, and the challenges of life. All right. And let's wrap up with what we should be doing together today, which is week 8, and we're looking at sound. Sound is so important in film. I don't have a sound slide here for you. Well, I might not even have a slide here. Just a second. Let me. So, the theory we're going to look at this week is postmodernism. So, now we did post structuralism. Forget about it. Postmodernism. And the way that I like to think about this is the condition of getting away from what is modern, having a conscious mindset of what was going on. And the way that we might talk about this today is meta and being meta. It's that wink, wink, right? Is I know what's going on in the story. And we see this in a couple different films where the characters seem to know what's going on. They break the fourth wall, they talk to the audience. Uh, and so that's the way that I like to connect postmodernism to what it is actually meaning is recognizing that this film is different than anything we've ever seen before. And a director who is really great at this and challenged the status quo. Here we are in October, the season of horror is Wes Craven. Wes is known for reviving horror in different ways. And one of those ways is through the Scream franchise, which is a meta discussion about where the horror industry has went throughout film history. If you watch those Scream movies, and we'll watch a clip in class of them essentially saying, hey, you're watching this, here's what's going on, and here's what's going to happen. But when you look at these movies, there are probably several movies here that you recognize that change the game. Horror was dying multiple times throughout the decades, similar to what we talked about in the Western, is that horror was a dying art, and Wes Craven was there to revive it and tell stories in different ways every time, to the point where we have many uh, iconic villains or nightmares, right? Wes was really focused on what we were afraid of, what kept us up at night. And so whether it's Freddy Krueger or Ghostface or the Hill People, um, Wes recognized that people were terrified. And similar to what we were talking about with Bong Joon-ho and his focus on sharing a commentary, Wes was thinking about trauma and being able to escape trauma or get over trauma. And he likes to try to do that through telling these stories um, in the way that he does. And Scream was so unique, and we'll talk about it more in class. But uh, it's all these films are unique, and Wes really was a game changer. Unfortunately, he passed away of cancer a couple years ago, but he wanted to make films that made the audience think and challenge the status quo, and that's how he continued to revive the horror industry, is by challenging what we had done before to make it unique. And that's the reason it's connected to postmodernism, and that's the reason we're watching this. And if I had to pick one of these for you, I would pick Scream, because it provides more of that meta context. But you also have the option to watch Nightmare on Elm Street, or a more recent film, which is Red Eye. All three excellent Wes Craven movies. Um, but really, this is a way to celebrate the spirit of the season. So that is catching us up on directors and theories in the simplest way possible. Uh, if you have questions, let me know. Like I said, I'm gonna be providing grace and flexibility, and we will get through this. There's one thing that I love about St. Leo, and that is our community that we have here. And just know that we are here for you. I was actually on campus this weekend uh, with some of my coworkers who live on campus, and we were just checking it out and talking about how grateful we are to have such a community that cares so much. So, at the same token, provide grace to us. We're going through this together, and it is unique, but we will get through this, and we'll get caught up, and we'll provide you the best semester that we can. Uh, it's gonna be okay. I know that at some points over the last month and into the next month, it is challenging, but this too shall pass. So if you need anything, let me know. If you got this far, go ahead and send me a text message that says, let's see, what is the name? I'm trying to come up with a fun question. What is the name of the movie that my backdrop here is to? So once you've watched this video, to get your attendance points, go ahead and send me a text message telling me what movie this is. And if you don't know what movie this is, send me a text message saying, Tyler, what movie is behind you? I know a couple of you uh, did papers about this director, Pete Docter. So, all right. Have a good week, and I look forward to seeing you all on Monday. It's been a long time, but I'm excited to do some activities and get us caught up. All right. If you have questions, reach out. If not, have a good week. Bye bye.